Hello everyone. Today I'll demonstrate you how to download multiple files from your FTP server using C#.net. So before I get started, if you have any questions or you want to drop a comment, just go to our blog, softwarenow.com. At the bottom, there's a get in touch form. And if you need other solutions, just click on solutions and click C# tutorials. We also have a learning center with some basic beginner tutorials. Just to get started today, we're going to download multiple files from FTP server using C Sharp. This tutorial is up and running already in our blog. Go ahead and click on it. I'll show you where I'll be getting my code from. I also put all this information on the description, the links. All right, so let's get started. Let's go ahead and open up Visual Studio, create a Windows Form application, and once you do that, you're going to have a form1.cs, which is this file. All right, let's get started. All right, let's save this. All right, let's get started. So on your form one, let's go ahead and add a rich text box. All right, give it a second. All right, on the rich text box, just right click this arrow up on top here and click dock to parent container. So right click on your rich text box, click properties, scroll to the properties screen all the way to the top and type and name it text results. So for this project, for this tutorial, this is all we're gonna need. This is the only tool we're gonna need. Just in case if you don't have your toolbox here, all you need to do is click over here, which it says toolbox. If your toolbox is not available here, click this drop down here, click add and remove buttons, and make sure you select toolbox. My toolbox up here, so I just click on that, go to my form, and here we go. All right, so let's get started. Now let's go ahead and double click on your form.1 to open up your code. All right. Now go back to the blog, and the blog you can follow the instructions here on what to do. So actually the first step asks you to do is download this file. It states.txt, which I already did. And if I minimize here, I downloaded state.txt. Make multiple copies of it and drop to your FTP server. So I'm dropping to my FTP server 4 different files. The reason I'm doing this is so I can show you the program downloading these 4 different files using C Sharp. All right. So I already have this set up. If you have any questions or need any help setting this up, just send me an email or a comment. All right. So let's go back to. All right. So once you do that. I'll go ahead and copy the first thing is, let's go ahead and copy the first code here, which is get list of files from FTP server. All right, so let's go ahead and paste this code here. I'll explain line by line what each one of these things are doing here. So once you paste this code, you see some squiggled red line. So let's go ahead and find the dependencies on it. So go ahead and put your cursor on top of it. All right, let's see here. What's going on? All right, there you go. So put your cursor on top of it, and you see the drop down on the light bulb. Click on that. On the first one, let's give it a second. All right. All right, on the first one, on the FTP web request, it's go ahead and select using system.net. All right, and on the stream here, go ahead and put your cursor on top and select using system IO. All right, let me explain line by line here. Let's give some space here. All right, just give me a second here, find some space. All right, all right, all right, all right. So what this function does, it opens up the connection with this specific path on my FTP server, this FTP sample here. So here's the connection, getting the connection. My path, it's over here. You can't see what it is. So the request method, so you create an FTP web request object, and the method's going to be list directory. So we want to get the list of items in the specific directory, and then you set up your request credentials. This is username and password for your FTP server. Now you initialize the FTP web response here. This is what this is doing. Now we're going to open some readers to read the web response, and also to read the data from the FTP server. Now once I read the data, so the reader is going to read each line, and each line is going to contain a name of each file in this directory. But because we have these three dots here, these three dots do show up here as a part of the directory. So I'm creating an exception here to only add to the list, to this file list, files that have a .txt. Okay, and at the end here we close the reader and we close the FTP web response, and then we return the file list. All right, so let's go ahead and give it a quick try here. Actually, no, let's keep it going. All right, so pretty much this function retrieves the list of files in a specific directory in your FTP server. All right. All right, let's go to the next one. So go back to the blog, and the next line, the next function, it's going to be the bottom one here. All right, so let's go back to our code. Here's our code. All right, let's go ahead and paste it. You shouldn't have any errors. This function will look pretty similar to the first one. I'll show you the differences. All right, let's do some spaces here. All right. All right, as you can see here, it does the same web request, but the difference is on this one, it downloads a file alone, right? So on the FTP web request, you're going to include your FTP URL plus the file name that you're going to be passing as a parameter from this list, right? Everything else here, it's the same. Here's the credentials. You open up the FTP web response. The reader, on this case, the result, it's going to be a one-liner, right? Because all we're doing here is we are reading the entire file into a result string, which is this string here. And from this string, we're creating the file, which is the file being passed in, and saving the data to the file. And here we read we close the reader and the response, the FTP web response, and then we return the result. We return the data inside the text file. So to summarize, this function get file data in download file. What this does is based on the file name that we pass in. It retrieves the data from the file, which is going to be stored in result, and it creates the file by creating the file name using StreamReader, saves the file locally, and and saves the data of the file to the file while saving the file locally, and then it closes the reader and returns the data of each file. All right. So, and the last but not least, it is the download files. So there, let's go. So with this function, it's the final function of this tutorial. It's called download files. The name is pretty self-explanatory, but I'll go ahead and explain to you line by line here. So I initialize a list of string called files, and I'll retrieve a list of files from the get file list from FTP, which is the first function we went over, this function here. So this on this list of string, we're gonna have all these 4 files, and they all have different datas, all have different states in it. Just so just so we can visualize what it looks like to be querying from different files in the FTP. And now, the next step is I create a for each to loop through a list of files. Now, on the list of now I initialize a file data string. On this file data string, what I'm doing is I'm pulling the data and downloading for each file in the files list. And not only I'm pulling the data from FTP, I'm displaying the data into that into this rich text box that we created at the beginning of the program. So, and why do I have three different lines? So bottom line is on the first line here, I have the file name. All right, let's rename this to something more intuitive. So file underscore name. All right. So on the first line on the text on the rich text box, we're going to be displaying the file line, and we're going to skip a line, and then we're going to append the data, which is the data on each text file, and then we're going to skip a line. The reason I did this way is so we can visualize which data it's in which file. All right, so we're ready to go here. Oh, actually, don't forget, before you build your program, go ahead and select download files, paste it in your form one load. Make sure you put your semicolon at the end. All right. And go ahead and click start to run and build your project. All right, project, it is running now. Right now it's pulling the data from the FTP. There we go. So this is what we have, just so we can visualize a little better. So state.txt has all the states. This is, well, almost all the states. I did that on purpose so we could visualize all the states. State.txt, states0.txt has a couple of them. Not all of them, but a little less than the first, the states.txt. State1.txt, as you can see, it's a pretty short list, and the state2.txt, it's another short list. So this is pretty much it. If you guys have any questions or if you have any concerns with this tutorial, feel free to send us a comment or send us an email. And if you have any other questions, just go ahead and visit our blog. Once again, it is softwarenow.com. Thanks for watching, guys.